There are those moments in a gamer's life when a title suddenly appears that you never had on your radar for the release year, hitting you out of nowhere and leaving the competition pale in comparison. And then there are those moments when it's not just you who feels this way, but seemingly the global majority of gamers. One of the most recent examples for me is Elden Ring, a game that very few had on their bucket list apart from dedicated FromSoft fans. But a game that stormed the hearts of millions of players, creating excitement, hype, and above all, fun, while filling countless gaming nights, even years after its release. And Arc Raiders is exactly one of those games that I, and I believe many others, didn't have on their list of most anticipated titles for 2025. A game that serves a niche, the niche of extraction shooters, known for appealing more to hardcore shooter fans than to the broader audience. A genre currently looked at with a smirk, since so many developers try to jump on the train hoping to become the next Tarkov. But what happened in Arc Raiders' second playtest this April is something only very few studios and games manage. Embark Studios, the developers behind The Finals, another excellent shooter, managed with Arc Raiders to push so many buttons for players of all backgrounds that the overwhelming community feedback after the playtest was that Arc Raiders already felt release ready. In this video, I'll cover everything Arc Raiders did right, what turned it into a title whose hype and buzz during a playtest became larger than the full release of some AAA blockbuster games, and why Arc Raiders stands a real chance of carving out its place in the crowded market of extraction shooters or even snatching the crown. Embark Studio has achieved with Arc Raiders what Bungie wanted to do with Marathon but failed miserably at. Arc Raiders is highly accessible for players of all kinds. The entry barrier is very low because Arc Raiders throws several fundamentals of traditional extraction shooters overboard and approaches things differently than the rest. But first, I'd love to know what you enjoyed the most in Arc Raiders. Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video so far, I'd really appreciate your support with a thumbs up. For more Arc Raiders content from me, stay up to date by subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell so you don't miss anything. One thing immediately stands out in Arc Raiders: the perspective. While traditional extraction games are played in first person, Arc Raiders relies on the, at times frowned upon, third-person view. Of course, this allows players to peek around corners without exposing themselves. While this helps less aim-savvy players who can often avoid fights entirely because of it, competitive shooter veterans usually see it as a complete no-go. I've heard lines more than once like, "That's basically wall hacking." But then why is it that even ultra-competitive players like Shroud or Escape from Tarkov veterans like Jesse Kazam still couldn't get enough of Arc Raiders in Tech Test 2? Here's a short statement from Shroud on the topic.
But yeah, I mean, I like the game. I think third person is the only thing that's its problem, but it's not even that bad. It fits the game. You get to see your cool character. If you didn't have third person, the AI would be even worse, because with third person, you can actually like maneuver around the AI. Because if you were in first person, they would be all over you. You wouldn't see them. You would have to look in just the most uncomfortable situations to look for AI. So I actually think the game being third works. It's a game that actually works in third person, so I don't think I would want first person. I think third person's chill. I like it. I thought it would be a lot worse than it was, but it actually works. I'm super impressed. Embark Studios has a banger here.
I have to say I fully agree with him, even though I'm an absolute first-person fan myself. Fighting flying arcs or a charging bison in first person would be incredibly frustrating in my opinion. For awareness of what's happening around you, third person is definitely the better choice. On the one hand, a third-person shooter can absolutely be competitive. The conditions are still exactly the same for everyone. Well-known games in that category include Fortnite and The Division. And on the other hand, if the core gunplay is solid, the perspective quickly becomes less of a factor. And that's something Arc Raiders nailed. The weapons all feel different and unique enough. The balancing was already solid for a playtest overall, and Embark has already announced adjustments for the few small outliers. Here's the statement from the official Discord. One of our many learnings from Tech Test 2 was that a few weapons and gadgets were bending the rules in ways that didn't align with our design intent, either by making fights too quick, too one-sided, or just not giving players the time or tools to respond. And by the rules, I mean our combat pillars, the guiding principles that shape how Arc Raiders should feel when you engage with man or machine while topside. Our combat is built on beats and flow. That means letting action ramp up and have room to breathe, not just explode and end in an instant. We want to linger in those moments where two players feel locked in, reading each other's actions and responding with their own. So when weapons like the Arpeggio and the Tempest had such a fast cadence and short TTK, those moments didn't have a chance to happen. We're tuning them to restore that flow. We're also thinking hard about range and versatility. Your loadout should influence how you move through the world, which fights you take, and how you win them. Even though the Anvil is a personal favorite of mine, it was performing a bit too well at long ranges, to the point where it started cannibalizing on our rifles. Similarly, we found that our shotguns were overshadowing our SMGs. We want shotguns to feel viable, maybe more than they typically are in PvP games, but we overshot. The Volcano hit too hard, too fast, and from too far away. So we're reworking its base cadence, spread, and how damage falls off over distance, while still leaving room for you to mod it to act like the beast it was. And yes, you were right. The heavy shields were too strong and shield swapping was way too efficient. I gotta say, that all sounds great, and I'm really looking forward to testing the weapons again. And I think there's one thing all players did agree on. The kill animation with the Raider Flare is insanely satisfying. Headshot and kill sounds and animations are always an important part of shooters. They make winning firefights feel so much better. The Raider Flare isn't just a great signal to show what's happening a few hundred meters away on the map, it also looks spectacular, especially at night or when it bounces off the ceiling in tight spaces and streaks across the room. But be careful, you can even bring flares into a raid to trick other teams and lure them into an ambush. And that's such a clever design. Another highlight for me is how shields work in combat. When you hit an enemy raider with an active shield, it flashes blue as the shield energy is released. Break the shield and orange sparks burst out. Every hit afterward causes a blood cloud, showing the raider is losing health. Perfectly visualized and a fantastic detail. But the main reason the game resonated with so many people, whether super casual, solo players, or hardcore competitive veterans, is simply that it was fun, and a lot of different factors contribute to that. So let's take a look at what else Arc Raiders got right and why so many players are so excited about it. First and foremost, I'd highlight the visuals. Arc Raiders, just like Embark's other title, The Finals, is a stunning game that pushes the Unreal Engine 5 to its limits without suffering the many issues other developers seem to have with the engine. I had several moments in the game where I simply stopped in my tracks just to take in the scenery, letting my tasks and objectives wait until I had soaked it all in. And during its playtest, Arc Raiders didn't just run better on my PC than many full release titles, it also ran smoothly on much older machines. No matter what hardware you're using, the game performs wonderfully with the right settings. You can see this in the minimal system requirements on Steam. Arc Raiders is playable with a GeForce GTX 1050 Ti. Just think about that for a second. And it's actually true. I personally played with people who only had a GTX 1080 Ti and they were blown away by both the performance and the visuals. But it's not just the graphics that deserve praise. Another huge highlight is the sound design. Whether it's sniper shots echoing from the other side of the map, the bone-rattling roar of a Bastion's Gatling gun, or the beeping of a sniper turret that can drop you in just 2 shots. The sounds are always clear, easy to locate, and perfectly presented. I honestly can think of many shooters I've played with better sound design. Thanks to its visuals and audio, Arc Raiders often feels strongly reminiscent of Star Wars, and I'm certain that this familiarity contributes a lot to its atmosphere and immersive vibe. The 3 playable maps were large enough to encourage plenty of exploration and discovery, and they didn't just differ in biome, but also in how they played. Each of the 3 had its own points of interest, whether it was the pitch-dark apartment blocks in Buried City, the swamp research stations on Dam Battlegrounds, or the massive rocket launch tower at Asera Spaceport. They not only looked fantastic, but also provided opportunities for great loot drops or tense firefights with other raiders. A 4th map, Bluegate, has already been teased in recent trailers, and it looks pretty amazing. It's set at the foot of the Dolomites. Rumor has it, but you should take this with a huge grain of salt, that Arc Raiders might launch with 12 maps in total. That would, of course, be absolutely incredible. The moment-to-moment gameplay in Arc Raiders is fantastic. No matter what goal you set when dropping into a map, there's always something to do, something to find, or something to fight, or something to avoid. Tension is practically guaranteed every round. Want to just stuff your backpack to level up and craft gear? Bring along keycards for special loot rooms and increase your chances of scoring valuable drops. Looking for pure PvP action and hunting down other raiders? No problem, the sound design in Arc Raiders is excellent, making it easy to figure out which direction you need to head for the next gunfight. Prefer to go solo, gathering specific resources to upgrade your workbench while avoiding other players? Also no problem. Stick to the less frequented areas of the map, they're clearly marked, and loot those. With a Raider Hedge key in your pocket, you can even use alternate exits to bypass extraction fights altogether. That way, you can make steady progress without almost any PvP while still experiencing plenty of tense and exciting moments. Or do you need specific arc parts from high-ranking AI enemies to complete quests? No problem either. But make sure to bring plenty of ammo and healing, because the machines in Arc Raiders are not to be underestimated. This is where you can really tell that Arc Raiders was originally planned as a pure PvE looter shooter. The AI is insanely good and insanely strong, creating some of the wildest and funniest moments in the game. My squad got wiped out by a rocketeer more than once. Absolutely brutal. And that's no surprise, because Embark Studios uses a special machine learning system for the Ark that allows the robots to independently learn how to walk and jump over obstacles and resist external forces. But see for yourself. Another very interesting feature is the system where AI enemies drop grenade-like objects that you can then use strategically against other players. For example, if you throw the core of a snitch drone, the drone that calls in reinforcements when it spots you, at your opponents, the reinforcements will spawn right on top of them. And then there are bigger threats like the Bastion, the Bison, or the Queen, each offering their own challenges and mechanics. The Queen in particular requires several raider squads working together to bring her down, which in a PvP setting is equally thrilling and nerve-wracking. In short, the AI of the non-human enemies is strong enough to keep players engaged, unlike in many other extraction shooters where they're either easily ignored or nothing more than simple bullet sponges. All of these factors play a major role in the overall design of Arc Raiders, and all of them are already in a very good to excellent state. That means there's something here for all kinds of players, with a big dose of fun packed in as well. Personally, I'm really excited to see what shape Arc Raiders will be in for the Server Slam from October 17th to 19th, and I can't wait to ride the lift back up from the underground topside and continue exploring the world. I'm sure Embark has been pushing hard these past months to add the final polish. And if you enjoyed this video, do all the usual YouTube things. YouTube likes it when you do things, and of course, I really appreciate it too. That's it from me. I wish you all an awesome day, and I'll catch you in the next one.